Shark bait, ooh ha ha. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are taking a look at sharks as an archetype. I have my build here. I've been looking at them for a little bit, but they're kind of a weird deck to try and build. I mean, I think they're one of those decks that there's not a lot of material out there on them. Like, there's not a lot of builds and stuff to go off of. There's a couple of like those, dual replay videos, but I didn't really like those builds. I thought they were a little bit greedy and stuff in a lot of situations. So I wanted to build the most consistent deck that could to pump out Bahamut Toads as much as possible. And I think that's where I found myself at the end of a good amount of theory and building. So hopefully you guys like this deck profile. And I guess before I go in, I just want to mention there's a couple cards in the OCG that are not out yet for this deck that I want to mention, but I'll mention at the end of the video. Just a couple cards that, like, when they come out, it will change the build, I think, at least a little bit. And then obviously when they do, I can do an update. But yeah. All right, without further ado, let's just jump into these monsters here. Starting off with the main monsters, you've got 3 copies of Buzzsaw Shark, 3 copies of Lantern Shark. These are your best starters. Well, Buzzsaw's specifically your best starter, but Lantern's still pretty good. Lantern kind of just specials a level 3, 4, or 5 fish from your hand, and Buzzsaw can summon a fish from the deck with the same level as a monster you control, or a fish you control. So that's pretty cool. They're both really nice. I believe they both they both lock you into XYZ monsters as far as being summoning from the extra deck for the rest of the turn, but that's totally fine. Most of our plays are going to be that. And technically, they can also both count as level 3s or level 5s when they're being used for Xyz material. So they do give you a little bit of versatility there, but it really doesn't matter that much. You'll see. You'll see when we get there. But yeah, they're really, really good. Buzzsaw specifically is just like the best starter in your deck. Speaking of starters, we have one more card that is also like essentially 3 more copies of Buzzsaw. When I saw this card, I was very impressed. I was like, whoa, I didn't know sharks had their own Lone Fire Blossom, because that's essentially what this is. This card just says when it's normal summoned or special summoned, you can banish itself as cost to just special summon a level 4 lower fish straight from the deck. So you're pretty much always going for Buzzsaw here, but it's pretty cool. It's 3 more copies of Buzzsaw, and what I think is, like, at first glance you're like, oh, this card's so weak to hand traps, but then when you look a little closer, you're like, wait, it's only weak to Ash. It's literally just weak to Ash because it triggers on summon and banishes for cost. It dodges Ogre, Impermanence, Veiler, Ghost Mourner, and Moonlit Chill. Literally dodges all of those. Ash is the only one that actually like threatens it, and it can't be called by the grave like Lone Fire can if it tributes itself. Like, actually is so much like nicer than Lone Fire is. But Ash is still a problem, not going to deny that, so we are playing Called by the Grave to help with that. But yeah, still a nice starter to have. It's still a 1-card Bahamut Toad play, which we like to see. And then moving on after that, we have a couple of extenders to either help us play through a hand trap, if anything drops down like that, but also worst case scenario, you open 2 extenders and they can still just get you to a Bahamut Toad. So these are your main 2 extenders in terms of I guess like just getting to Bahamut Toad, getting to your minimum play. Angler's definitely the best one because it's just put any water on field. So 2 Anglers like gets you Bahamut Toad, still pretty nice. And then you have Shathada. This card's kind of like, I have a love-hate with this card because, like, turn 1 it's great because, like, it's just a summon before you even have to commit to the board to, like, already tell your opponent, like, oh, he already has the extender. Great. But it's really nice, and it has a 2000 booty, and it can still be normal summoned, which I like. So these were like the best like extenders in my opinion. There's like White Stingray was like awkward just because this deck doesn't really appreciate the discard, and like there were some other things too, like some of the other shark cards I just didn't think were as good as these. So these were just generically better extenders, just as far as raw effect. Put a level 3 water on the board without your normal summon. Like, that's what I wanted, and that's what I got out of them. And then for the last of the water monsters, we placed 2 XYZ or more. Now this card's kind of an extender, but in a different way than the other 2. The other 2 are kind of trying to help you just get to the bare minimum play, whereas this guy is only good when you can already get to the Bahamut Toad play, or at least a Bahamut Shark, and he allows you to just like make your board a lot like stronger. Essentially, just letting you end on like. I think you can end, well, I guess it depends on like what you opened it with, but like you can just essentially end on like multiple Xyz to just extend way past just Bahamut and Toad. So he's pretty cool. He says like when You could attach 2 XYZ materials off of monsters you control. Then you can special summon him and then target, I think it's 2 level 4 fish type monsters in your graveyard specifically, which is kind of weird. But then you reborn them, and then their effects are negated. They cannot change their battle positions or attack, and cannot be used as XYZ material except for the summon of a water monster. So a lot of restrictions there, but mainly you're just going to reborn them and then just take them into another Bahamut Shark. Resolve Bahamut again. That's like the main goal there. So nothing too crazy there, but he's a nice extender. He's really cool at just like being able to make it your board like so much more than just Bahamut plus Toad. Alright, but he's also like, because he's not great unless you already have that play, I didn't want to commit to playing 3 of him because he can just be bricky in that way, where like if you draw him when you can't make it, it's just another dead card in hand. So yeah. Alright, moving on to the hand traps, because this deck is god-awful going second, so you have to play like stuff like this to just help yourself go second. Keeping it simple though, 3 Ash, 2 Ogre, 2 Phantasme. You could totally swap hand traps out here. I just like Phantasme because this deck is like a consistent, can have consistency problems, so like if you didn't open a starter, you can use him to try and kind of like dig deeper for a starter, dig for more hand traps to disrupt your opponent, you know what I mean? Like just do cool things like that. Ogre I'm playing right now just because of like the Numeron stuff, and it's like still generically like pretty good versus like a couple things. And we're also playing Impermanence, so like playing Impermanence plus Valor is just like a lot of monster negation, whereas like I don't know, I think Valor has dipped in like popularity a little bit as of right now, and I think I'm on that. I think I'm with that for the time being. We'll just see where the Numeron stuff goes, honestly. Alright, moving into the spells here, we've got 3 copies of Called by the Grave, 2 copies of Pot of Desires, 1 Instant Fusion, 1 Monster Reborn, and 1 for 1. Okay, so this is all pretty makes sense. Like 1 hand trap can be like the end of your turns a lot of times. So Called by the Grave, it's a very fragile deck, so we're trying to protect it at all costs. 2 copies of Desires. I almost thought about playing this at 3, but I'm kind of a coward. Like, in all honesty, like Desiresing into Desires is pretty terrible, but the +1 is very welcome, as well as it just baits the Ash. If you open to this plus like Beautiful Princess, you just fire this off because you know it's probably going to bait an Ash, and then Princess can't be hit by hand trap, so you do get to play, you know what I mean? So I like that. And then these are more of your extenders. Instant Fusion, really nice, just give you a free Mud Dragon, which is your level 4 water monster, which is pretty cool. Monster Reborn, just reborn a level 4 water monster, continue to extend, reborn a Toad, you know what I mean, if you don't want to have to go Bahamut to get him back. And then 1 for 1. This card's kind of cool just because of Beautiful Princess. So if you like if you tried to like normal summon something like Lantern, use Lantern, they were like, oh, that's a normal summon, this deck's really fragile, I'll Impermanence that. And then you open to this in a monster, you can just go this into a monster, go Beautiful Princess, Beautiful for Buzzsaw, and then Buzzsaw for another monster. Then you have 3 level 4s through a hand trap, which is pretty cool. And it can also just bait an Ash as well, just because people really get like hungry going after a card that is like a 2 for 1, you know what I mean? Alright, then we move to the traps. We've got 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence, 3 copies of Goes and Match, and 2 copies of XYZ Revive Splash. Yeah, this is pretty cool. I mean, like, Impermanence, pretty self-explanatory. Not going to go too much in depth on that. Goes and Match, very cool, though. I like this a lot. This deck really, like, does not go off of waters, like, rarely ever. So, Goes and Match is very, very cool. We have enough utility with our water monsters to be able to handle most things. So yeah, just establish this, and then just like add Emancipator a lot of times. Don't have an out to this if they don't have like Cyclone, which they might not even side if once they see they're playing this deck and you didn't show them like Goes in like game 1 or something. So that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. It's really good in the meta. And then XYZ Revive Splash. This card is really cool, honestly. So first and foremost, this card says you can target any rank 4 or lower monster in the XYZ monster, specifically in the graveyard, and special summon it, but it becomes water. The other effect it has is that you can banish this card from your graveyard to target an Exceed monster you control and overlay, or does it target? You target a water Exceed specifically, and then you overlay another water Exceed on top that's 1 rank higher. So mainly it's just a follow-up play, but it's pretty cool. And there's other ways that I don't believe it's like even like a follow-up play, where like if you ended on a Toad, you could negate something with Toad, but use Toad to like when it hits the grave to add something else back, and then you could use Revive Splash to just revive the Toad again, and then you have another negation. So it does make your boards like actually more powerful, not just in terms of follow-up, but in terms of, you know, like negation, another just omni negate, which is pretty cool. So I like this card. I don't know if I'd play it at 3, but I think I like it at 2. It's a cool card. It's not searchable, but it is like pretty nice to have, honestly. All you need to do is get to an Exceed and it'll have utility for you. And then when you rank up, you can go into the new Shark rank 5, which is pretty good. And also one more thing I want to mention is these 2 effects are hardest returns only once per turn. So if you use the revive effect, you're gonna have to wait another turn to use the rank up effect. So just keep that in mind. You know what I mean? Just stuff to just remember when you're playing it, so you don't do them both and cheat or anything. All right, then we move to our extra deck. That's 40 cards in the main. We've got 3 copies of Bahamut Shark and 1 copy of Totally Awesome. This should be pretty self-explanatory here. I don't have the 3rd Bahamut because who has 3 Bahamuts? I had 2, and I thought at one point I thought 2 was even too much because like you make a board, you're probably only using 1 Bahamut, but whatever. Yeah, it's good, and honestly, having multiple Toads would be amazing for this deck because you'd be able to end on boards that are literally just like 2 Bahamut, 2 Toad. You're getting like resources back when you're like negating stuff with Toad. If you can keep the Bahamuts on field, they're gonna get you another Toad out next turn. All this stuff is pretty cool. So I like that a lot. I really like leaving a Bahamut on field when I end my turn with a material. That way my opponent kind of just knows like if they can, even if they can play through negation, play through my board and still like not be dead in the water, pun intended. They know that like if they can't out the Bahamut as well, he is just going to present like a nut like crazy amount of extendability on the next turn, and just like pressure that he puts on. So very cool. I like Bahamut a lot. I love Toad. I always love Toad. Who doesn't? A lot of people, I'm guessing. All right, and then we move to the rest of the water exceeds. We've got 1 copy of number 71 Rebarian Shark. We've got full armored Blackberry Lancer. We have number 37 Hope Woven Dragon Spider Shark. Cool card, interesting card. 1 copy of Abyss Dweller, 1 copy of Silent Honor Arc number 101, and 1 copy of Valiant Shark Lancer. That is all the rest of the exceeds we play. Real quick going through what they do. Rebarian Shark is mainly just there so that you can overlay the Blackberry Lancer on top of it. We're not playing that number card that this card can stack on top of your deck just because it's another brick. This deck already struggles with consistency issues. It's a cool play, but I think like cool is not necessarily good, you know what I mean? I was trying to make this deck as good as it could be, and this card is really important for XYZ Remora becoming extendable in certain hands. Hope Woven, you know, Dragon Spider Shark. This card's pretty cool. It does some battle shenanigans. It just says, I think it's when, let's see, when any player's monster declares an attack, you can make all of your opponent's monsters lose 1,000 attack, which is pretty cool until the end of the turn. And then if he's destroyed, I think you can just reborn any monster from the graveyard. When he's destroyed by battle or card effect and sent it to the graveyard, you can target 1 monster in your graveyard and special summon. So it does just revive anything from grave, which is pretty cool. I like that. And it's 2600 beater, only takes 2 water materials. Like, that's pretty cool. Dweller, gotta play Dweller. This deck pumps out rank 4s, and all your materials are water, so this card will always be 2200, which is pretty cool. Silent Honor Arc, I wanted something that had a little bit of like nice, like easy monster removal, because the deck really doesn't do that. You can set up Bahamuts and Toads and beat over certain things, but you do have like an attack threshold that's kind of annoying. But if you can get to him, you can rip like a Borreload Savage off the field, which otherwise can be very tough to like take care of. Just deals with problems, and it's water, so even under goes and match, you can still like go into him. And then Valiant Shark Lancer. This card's pretty cool. It's a rank 5, but it says you can attach a material from any Exceed monster you control to just target 1 monster your opponent controls and destroy it. But this becomes a quick effect if you control another water Exceed monster. So a lot of times you're only summoning him if you control another water Exceed, but he becomes just like a Dryden, just a quick effect pop. And then I think he also can float, right? He says if another water Exceed monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect while you control this monster, you can take any spell from your deck and place it on top of your deck. So unfortunately, like I said, we're not playing that rank up spell that like would be okay with that, but like you're not even going into him that often. And when you do, like what do you do? You put a Desires on your deck, you draw 2 next turn. Like you put a Instant Fusion on your deck, like you get a Easy Extender next turn. You put a Monster Reborn on your deck. Like, we're fine. It puts any spell, which is still pretty dang good. So that's what I'm playing for the Exceeds. They all have their utility. Unfortunately, I can only play 1 of each. Some of them I would like to play potentially more of for like follow-up turns, but for the most part, this will get the job done. And then for the rest, well, I guess the fusions we'll talk real quick. It's just Mud Dragon and Millennium Eyes. I just play Mud Dragon. He's the level 4 water you get off of it for the free extender. And then Millennium Eyes is cool because it protects like Beautiful Princess. If your opponent had Ash, this card would allow Beautiful Princess to just play straight through. Only really losing to impermanence from that point on. Oof, that would be so rough. But yeah, pretty good. Like them both. And then we move to IP Masquerena, Unicorn, and Infinitrack Fortress Megaclops for the Link monsters. You're really not making these too often, but there are specific plays where you have already access to Toad, but you just have a bunch of extra like Exceed monsters and monsters on the field, so you're just like, I'll just make an IP. And I'll end like IP plus Toad, which is pretty cool. You know, just go Unicorn on your opponent's turn and get a shuffle. It's pretty strong. And then the Megaclops. Megaclops, like in certain like grindier games, you can just end up with like multiple Exceeds on the field, and at some point you can just say, all right, I know what my opponent's playing at this point. I know what his deck does. I do not think his deck has an out to a Megaclops. So you drop a Megaclops, and then you say out this or lose. And in a lot of situations, they'll just lose. So very cool there. That pretty much, I think, sums us up for the deck profile. Yeah. Real quick, I want to talk about the rest of the cards that we do not have yet, but I wanted to just mention them. First off is like right hand and left hand shark. I wonder if you guys can even see. Yeah, okay, there you go. There's like a left hand shark here. Right hand shark is the other one. They're pretty cool. Like I think right hand shark just searches left hand shark on normal summon. Left hand shark can just summon itself from hand or grave, while right hand is on the field. And they kind of just are cool, like normal summon cards that help you get to like a rank 4 with water monsters. They're cool, but they're not out yet, but I wanted to mention them. And then the other one is White Mirror. This card specifically is like the nuts in this deck. So this card just lets you target a level 4 lower fish monster in grave, reborn it, and then you can add another copy of that same monster from your deck to your hand, which is very awesome. So it's just a straight up +1, gives you immediate like follow up for the following turn, or if you go into like an IP play, like it gives you discard fodder, which is pretty nice, and I like that a lot. So that is pretty much it for the deck profile. I just want to mention those. When those come out, I'll probably take a look at the deck again and see if I want to like adjust anything, change anything around, you know, basic stuff, basic like profile updates and stuff. But yeah, that's where I'm at now. Hopefully you guys like it. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of Sharks? Like, what do you think about this build? Do you think is there any way I can increase consistency, increase power, change things around? Definitely throw your suggestions down in the comments down below. This is my first time ever building this deck, so I am fairly new to it, but as always, I'm taking suggestions on stuff like that. So let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. As always, guys, subscribe to the channel if you have not yet and you want to see more deck profiles from me, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.